Alright guys, welcome back. Patrick here. In this video, let's talk about my $50,000 bet on two tech stocks. Very short-term bet, 2 weeks, November 19th. So some of you are actually going to like it, some of you are probably going to hate it. Well, it is part of my cash flowing strategy. Do a lot of speculative stuff, but I also want to do some stuff that is a little bit more conservative, and here's one of them. Now, one of the two companies I haven't talked about on YouTube yet, so I'm going to kind of introduce it at the same time, so stay tuned for that. Alright guys, I don't know about you, but buying stocks has been kind of challenging lately because the prices have risen up so much. So you don't want to buy at the top, you want to get some good deals, and right now there's not a lot of them. Like right now, do I feel like buying into AMD when I bought at 78 and it's at 137? Not really. The risk versus reward is not as good as it was before. Same for MGM. I bought this at 30, now it's at 47. Like if it went down to under $40, I would love to buy a little bit more. But I don't really expect that it's going to happen. I don't know if you guys saw the earnings yesterday, but they really crushed it, and they plan on returning a lot of capital to the shareholders. So they'll keep doing all these buybacks and probably increase the dividend, meaning that it's probably not going to really drop back under $40 again. So it's kind of tough right now to buy a lot of shares of these types of companies, even though I like them and they're part of my core portfolio. Now, my latest purchase was Enphase, if you guys remember. I bought this at 145 recently, and my big mistake is I actually sold a covered call on it, but from 145 now it's at 242. So do I want to make a play on Enphase at 242? Even if I was to actually do an options play, am I selling put options at 240, hoping that I can get the shares at 230? Probably not. So that's been very challenging lately. I don't know if you guys have had the same problem. So it's kind of led me to other stocks, right? And being a little bit more conservative in my numbers and a little bit more conservative in the companies that I'm actually going after right now. So first of the two companies I'm making a play on is Facebook. I know you guys aren't really excited about the company. You feel like you already know everything about it. But in this case, I'm not really buying shares, right? I'm just going to be selling options on it. Very short term, more of a cash flow play. All right, so why Facebook versus some of the other stocks? Well, Facebook is one of the few that haven't really recovered from in the recent rebound. So while Enphase went from 145 to 240, Facebook's actually been dropping, right? At some point it was at 380 and now it's at 335. So the low, when there was all the drama, was about 312 I see here, right? And now it's at 335, but it hasn't really dropped too much. So when I do these plays, and I'm going to detail a little bit, there's a couple different things that I'm looking for. The first one is, what is the worst case scenario? All right, so if my play works, I'm just going to be collecting cash flow, but what if I'm wrong and the stock actually drops? Well, with cash secured puts, that happens all the time, right? So if it drops and I do have to take the position back, I'm going to be okay. Facebook's a company that I think is going to do well in the future because I believe in the metaverse. Maybe I'm a sucker, that's up to debate, but I personally think it's probably going to be working, and I do feel like the company is really cheap compared to other tech stocks. No matter what bad reputation they have, it's a 24 PE ratio company, that has massive profits versus some of their competitors that are at 35, right? So I feel like the company is cheap. So worst case scenario, I just take the shares and I'm okay. So if we look at the options chain for Facebook, if you go down to the puts, I open a position at 330, right? So I opened one contract and I collected 585 for that. So that means that the break-even price is going to be 324.15, right? So if the share price stays above that, then I'm going to collect some profits. If it stays above 330, then I'm going to collect the full amount. So 585 means that I'm actually, quote unquote, risking $330 to make 585. Now you're probably wondering, Patrick, those numbers don't make any sense. Yeah, it's kind of like betting on the favorite in sports. The goal here is to be right more often than not. It is more of a conservative strategy. I'm not trying to hit a home run with this. It's just to make my money work for me, right? Instead of going for a dividend here, I'm going for a short-term options play, and if you do the calculation, it's going to be 585 divided by 330, and that would be a 1.8% return in the next 2 weeks. So what I try to do is, I have some positions that are a lot more speculative. I try to balance it out with some positions that are a little bit more safe, like this one. Because as we talked about earlier, at 324.15, if the stock drops, I'd be okay buying 100 shares of Facebook, right, for 30 something thousand dollars. So it doesn't really bother me. I'm not trying to really hit a home run with this. So if you look at how it plays out, right, so one contract here, I'm up $22 today on this position, and the max value is about 585, something like that. Right, now, one aspect that you probably have not really heard about a lot on YouTube is the collateral requirements. You're going to understand why this play makes a lot of sense for me compared to some of the other ones. So a lot of times I make plays on speculative stocks like crypto miners or even SPACs. Right, so those are great. They're very, very profitable. And in some cases like Proterra, I am making a lot of profits right now. And my play is super successful, and I can make as much as 12.6% in 1 month. But here's the big issue, is that every time you make a play like this, the brokerage takes some money out of your account and kind of keeps it in reserve in case you're wrong and the shares are assigned to you, right? Well, in cases like SPACs, they take 100% of the requirement, for margin. In this case, 10 contracts on Proterra at $10 cost me $10,000 from my account, right? The same play for Facebook, which is $33,000, look at this, cost me $10,000. Right, so that's why I'm trying to kind of balance it out. This costs me less, even though it's on a $33,000 position, than the $10,000 riskier play. So that's why I like Facebook in this case, right? And I think that I'm going to increase my portfolio in the next 2 weeks using that and making that snowball grow faster. Stock number 2, and I hope this brings a smile to your face. It is a Cathie Wood stock. No, it's not Teladoc. Why does she even have Teladoc? It's not Coinbase, Square, Roku, UiPath, which I got burnt on before. It is actually Unity Technologies. For those of you that are not as familiar with this company, they make the software platform that a lot of game developers are using, and also it's going to be a big player in the metaverse, potentially, if that's successful. So again, using my strategy of, if I'm correct and the share price stays flat or goes up or even comes down a little bit, I'm going to be collecting cash flow. And worst case scenario, if the share price drops, I'm going to collect it in my portfolio. I'm going to be happy with it. And using that strategy, it gives me so little stress. I can just sleep well at night, knowing that no matter what happens, I'm not really in big trouble. Now, this is a stock that has run up a lot over the past few months. Back in May, it went down to the low 80s, and I really wish I had bought into it at the time, but honestly I bought into AMD, which was pretty good too, and I just didn't really know about it. When I looked at it the first time, I was like, hey, this stock's losing money. They already have a huge market share with game developers, so how are they even ever going to become profitable, right? Their profit margin has to be too small for them to be successful. But now that the metaverse, I mean, you keep hearing about it everywhere, right? It's bringing a lot of attention to the stock, and the stock is really ramping up currently. So I don't know if it's going to continue going up, but the case is that I just did not want to buy the stock at 150. I'm looking for discounts. I don't want to buy at the top, hoping that it goes even higher. That's why I'm not going to buy into Nvidia either, even though Wall Street loves it. All right, so what my play is on this company is, notice here, like it dropped to 120 recently. I missed that too. When I really started to look into the stock, it was around 140, right? When I really did a lot of research, I even downloaded the software. It is free. You can do it too. You can kind of play around with it, and I saw how quickly it is to actually build a game using this. I mean, I managed to like do all sorts of little things with it. I'm big into like the old consoles like Super Nintendo and everything. Well, you can actually build a tile map really quickly and do all sorts of designs with it, and have your character going around. Anyway, so if I can do it, and I only did programming like 20 years ago, like software developers can use this very easily and build amazing things for that. So it has a great future in my opinion. Right, their only competitor is the engine from what is it? Unreal Engine, right? So I like the company. I think it's going to do really well. Now, what I did is I opened one at 140 and the bid ask is 350, 380. So I managed to get 370 for mine. So I sold one contract for that one. That means that I'm quote unquote risking $14,000 to make $370. Now, if you do 370 divided by 140, that gives you a 2.6% return in the next 2 weeks. And again, if the shares drop, you know, the earnings are coming soon, well, I'm gonna have shares a lot cheaper than they are now. I would save 10% on my investment. It's like a digging for like bargains. So one contract, I'm up like $5 today. Max value is 370, and there's 15 days to expiration. Now, again, going back to the collateral requirements, this one, Facebook was at 30%. This one is at 45%. But notice how I'm quote unquote risking 14, but the requirement is only $6,000. So what this does is it allows me to make many more plays than I normally would with my portfolio. Now, that's a big difference between us and institutional investors, is that they have a lot of leverage, right? They can borrow money very cheaply, and we don't. We usually don't have a lot of leverage. Well, by using these little tricks in your portfolio, you can make your money go a lot further. Just remember, I showed you the Proterra play where I have to put in $10,000 to make a $10,000 play. In this case, I can make a $14,000 play while putting up front $6,000. So it's a huge difference, right? That little bit of leverage allows you to increase your returns if you do it properly and you don't take too many risks. So I hope this really helps you. Links in the description if you guys want to join the Patreon and Discord, and I'll see you guys in the next video.